A roundup of the latest news now. Here are our top stories. Boris Johnson and wife Carrie Symonds announced that they're expecting the British PM's 84th known child. With the curtain falling on the belated 2020 Tokyo Olympics a week ago, we'll be taking a look back at highs and lows of the competition. A British bat flies to Siberia in what Russia deems a provocative act. Manchester City footballer Jack Grealish sheds a micro-tear on leaving Aston Villa for last season's Premier League champions. And tragic shooting in Plymouth, not thought to be terror-related. More on these top stories to come. First to Westminster, and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced that wife Carrie Symonds is pregnant with his 84th known child. With me in the studio to discuss the news is James Di Lorenzo, Professor of Colonial History at the School of Oriental and African Studies in London, currently researching his forthcoming publication, From Khan to Johnson, a comparative study in political leadership and male virility. Professor, thank you for joining us. I understand that in this study you take a look at how the British PM compares to the first emperor of the Mongol Empire, Genghis Khan. Is that right?
That's right, Bob. So the Mongol Empire, largest contiguous empire in the world, stretched from Central Europe to Japan, second only in landmass to the British Empire. Of course, that was back in the day. Now you guys have to content yourselves with a few offshore tax havens and a handful of Commonwealth countries, which is not quite the same as running half the world. Sorry, but what's the link between Khan and Johnson? Well, Khan was basically a sex maniac. I mean, the dude is said to have fathered thousands of kids. 1 in 200 men alive in the world today is directly descended from Genghis Khan. And Boris Johnson is well on the way to spreading his seed just as widely. Are there any other obvious comparisons between the two leaders? I'm afraid not. I mean, Khan actually achieved something, a great deal in fact, so that's where their profiles diverge significantly. James, thank you. To the recently concluded Tokyo Olympics now, and our sports correspondent Evan Smith. Evan, it seems the Olympics were a success from an organisational perspective, even if delayed by COVID-19.
Hello there. You could say that, but having virtually empty stadia devoid of crowds made that part a bit easier, even if not easier on the organisers' and sponsors' pockets. But yes, it was, of course, a successful iteration of the competition.
What would you say were the high and low points of the Games?
Well, in terms of a high point for entertainment value, there was Australian kayaker Jess Fox, who patched up the front of her kayak with a condom and went on to win a medal. In terms of low points, not much to speak of, other than perhaps the first week of shooting, archery, show jumping, egg balancing, hopscotch, and other sports no one really gives a shit about.
Evan, thank you. To UK-Russia relations now, and a London zoo bat has flown almost 2,000 kilometres to Siberia. The unprecedented journey by the pipistrelle bat was discovered by Russian officials a week ago, and it seems has caused a diplomatic incident. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued the following press statement in Moscow yesterday. A bat was sent from London to Siberia in last few days. Russian Federation considered this a provocation against its national interests. The use of wildlife as drones for foreign espionage is totally unacceptable and will not be tolerated. We sent a member of our feline defense forces to eliminate this threat, and we will treat all future incursions in the same way. Thank you. England midfielder Jack Grealish has sealed a move from Aston Villa to Manchester City for a British record fee of £100 million, where he will earn a weekly salary in excess of £200,000. Following legendary Argentinian forward Lionel Messi's emotional departure from Barcelona, announced at a tearful press conference earlier this month, Jack Grealish has announced that he also shed tears on leaving his previous club. Joining me in the studio to discuss the issue is video engineer Stephen Greenwood. Stephen, looking at the press conference in which Grealish announced his departure, in stark contrast to Messi's news conference, we've been unable to find any trace of tears. Are we missing something?
Hello, Bob. Yeah, it's not immediately obvious. You've got to slow it down to about 1 frame a minute. And if you look at the recording about 20 minutes and 32 seconds in at that speed, there is a micro tear that appears just above the bottom right-hand corner of the player's bottom left eyelid. We're not really sure where the tear went after that. There doesn't seem to be any trace of it beyond 20 minutes and 53 seconds into the video, but we're working on finding its whereabouts.
Stephen, thank you. And finally, following a tragic shooting incident in Plymouth on Thursday in which 5 people were killed and 2 injured, Devon and Cornwall police have been quick to confirm that the incident was not terror-related. Joining me in the studio is Devon and Cornwall police spokesman David Fairclough. David, what led police to conclude so swiftly that the matter was not terror-related?
Hello there, Bob. Well, you see, we can't comment on the investigation. But we have a special police team dedicated to identifying whether an incident is terror-related or not. Now, in this case, there was a slight ambiguity because the perpetrator had a beard, a rather long one at that, but his pigmentation fell below the required level of darkness required to secure a terror-related decision.
David, thank you.